Well, there are leaks now out of the United Kingdom that that country's military, i.e., the United States, is plotting an attack against Yemen. Now, that would be no surprise to anyone, considering that the United States was at war with Yemen for the better part of a decade and has only recently ceased the bombing of Yemen. The Yemenis, after so many years and years on defense, decided to go on offense and attack U.S. and Israel-affiliated ships trying to blockade the Red Sea, attacking anyone who tried to sail through their straits. After all, Yemen was sanctioned and blockaded by the United States for many, many years, and so Yemen is returning the favor by blockading Israel and the United States. But I guess the United States is fed up with it. They don't like it when they or their allies are the ones being sanctioned. Sanctions are something that only the U.S. State Department are allowed to levy against poor third world countries. You can't have poor third world countries sanctioning, rich countries. That would completely put the balance of power in the world out of whack. And to that end, the United States and the United Kingdom are going to attack Yemen, and I assume try and cripple their capability to launch these strikes. Now, the problem with doing that is that Yemen is pretty tough. They are hardened fighters, and they were the subject of a bombing campaign that lasted many, many years, as I've already stated. And so there's only so much damage that you can do to Yemen at this point. Everything's destroyed. Their way of enforcing their blockade is by launching suicide drones, and it's not like a person committing suicide. These are missiles that are powered by a propeller rather than like rocket fuel. If you look at them, they're very low tech, two-stroke remote control airplanes that are loaded with explosives that you fly into a target. That's how these, I believe they're called Shahed drones, made in Iran, and I think Russia is also producing them. And once you, they supposedly cost like $20,000. When you find out how they actually work, it's almost surprising to me that they cost that much. Seems to me like the kind of thing that you should be able to put together for like $2,500. But either way, it's a very efficient weapon compared to the systems used by Western nations. Because when they try and, because think about it, this is probably a pretty slow-moving weapon compared to like a missile. So most missile defense systems are probably going to have an easy time taking out these drones. But okay, that's fine. The missile that's being used to take out these drones costs a lot more than the drone itself. And so, on net, they are... you're the winner if you launch these drones and it gets just blown up by a missile out of the sky, because your enemy is going to have to produce a much more expensive countermeasure. So you're doing damage to them on net. But the point of these drones is not to attack the U.S. Navy. They're not designed to be effective against the U.S. Navy or, the United States. These are defensive weapons that are meant to keep people away. Now, if you're attacking commercial ships with these weapons, well, yeah, they're going to do a lot of damage because a commercial boat is not going to be able to protect themselves. A big cargo liner is not going to be able to protect themselves against this kind of weaponry. And so at that point, the Houthis can just fly a helicopter out, land it on your boat, and say, hey, you guys are under arrest. This is not a complicated military operation. It's basically Coast Guard work. So at the end of the day, if the U.S. launches a bunch of missiles at Yemen, if the U.S. decides to, do some bombing runs, is that going to change anything? Well, no, because it didn't change anything for years and years and years. The Houthis in Yemen are no longer afraid of being bombed. They are used to it at this point, and they just don't have enough left to lose. They have so much more to gain by attacking the United States now that they've lost everything. That they're basically welcoming the attack. They've been baiting the United States the entire time. They knew that this was going to be the end result of their actions. And that's just how people get when they're fed up. When they're not going to take it anymore, and they're not just going to sit down and let you continue to slap them in the face. Eventually, even the weakest kid in the schoolyard punches back. And sure, he knows that all the bullies are going to get together and knock his teeth out. But that one good sucker punch that he was able to get, it felt good. And that's what's going to get him through the beating that is sure to come. And he'll go home all bruised and bloodied, proud of himself, satisfied that he was able to stand up for himself, and that he didn't just lie down and accept the beating that was going to come either way. Because eventually you realize, if you've got any brains, that bowing down and submitting to the regime, it won't save you. The more you capitulate, the more you try and surrender harder, the more you try and do as you're told, they just smell blood in the water. And that's when they go in for the kill. The Houthis know that there is not a world that exists in which the United States is going to allow Yemen to exist as a free and independent nation. It is the goal of U.S. foreign policy to ensure that everyone in Yemen who stands against Saudi Arabia, as well as their immediate family and extended families, all the enemies of Saudi Arabia within Yemen, must be exterminated. And so if you live in Yemen, and you know that, why would you go down without a fight? Why not try and take down a few of them for every one of you that they're going to take out? And so the U.S.'s coming bombing campaign against Yemen will just be the opening salvo. It'll have to escalate because these strikes are not going to have the desired effect. And all the U.S. knows to do when they don't get their way, when they disagree with another country, is to bomb them. And if that country doesn't suddenly start to agree with them, they bomb them some more. And they keep doing that until eventually they get tired and go home. That's what happened in Afghanistan. That's what happened in Yemen just a couple years ago. The U.S. said, you know what, this is too much trouble. It's more trouble than it's worth. We're going to go home. We're going to stop bombing Yemen for a while. Well, now they're going to start bombing it again. It's what happened in Vietnam. It's what happens every single time. So with that said, I will see you folks back here in the next one.